Well, hi. Today I'm here with the topic of energy system. Today I'm discussing about what is ATP, how is energy obtained from ATP, metabolic pathways for generating ATP or energy systems, energy efficiency. So, what is adenosine triphosphate? So, we have a humans on the left side. We have a living organism, but dinosaur is not living right now. So it's been extinct, and if you see all the other living organisms need energy. So in order to move, to work, to walk, to run any kind of activities, we require energy. So that energy will be getting from food, what we consume. What we consume at the last stage, it happens in it's a chemical kind of structure. It's ATP. Whatever food we intake, it converts to chemical energy. So that chemical energy comes from food. So if you see how we receive energy, we receive energy from chemical energy. That chemical energy we receive from food through macronutrients and micronutrients. So here if you see how chemical energy converts to kinetic energy, whatever food we eat, it converts to chemical energy internally, and externally we use kinetic energy like lifting dumbbell play, doing any dumbbell press or doing lunges, doing sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups. Those are the kinetic energy, like the bodily movements like rotating, twisting, bending. Those are the kinetic energy. Internally the chemical energy produced, externally we can able to rotate, flex, contracting. Those comes under kinetic energy, the body movements. The last stage of chemical energy is nothing but converts to ATP molecule. This is the diagram. The last phase of chemical energy converts to ATP. So see, if you see, these are not two molecules. It's a one molecule. It's a called adenine. If you see below to that, it's a ribose molecule. And if you see three P's, it's nothing but phosphate. And middle of that, it was protected, trapped between bonds. These are the high energy bonds. These are the high energy bonds. So these three phosphate are trapped within these two bonds. Okay, so well, adenine and ribose together known as adenosine, where these three phosphate is link is bond to ribose, and whereas adenine is bond to ribose. That's a entire three. If you take into the consideration, it's nothing but ATP. So if you see a ribose together, adenine plus ribose together called as adenosine. Together adenosine and triphos together called as ATP. It's a complete structure. So okay, now the obtaining energy from ATP. See, if you see this is nothing but a high energy bond. These phosphates is trapped. Actually, this entire thing has been trapped within these bonds. This entire thing is trapped between these high energy bonds, and this is called the outer phosphate. It's a for inner phosphate, middle phosphate, and this is the outer phosphate. And this outer phosphate, when it get detached, it explode and gives us energy. We'll see in the next slide. Okay, this is how ATP to ADP. So if you see ATP to ADP, the adenosine triphosphate to adenosine diphosphate, because di is nothing but two. You see, adenine ribose plus phosphate and phosphate. Okay, one second. Okay, here. Okay, let me come to the previous slide. Okay, if you see, this is actually is ready to detach from the triphosphate. Like earlier it was three, now it's getting detached. If you see the dotted lines, is about to detach and it about to get explode. We'll see in the next slide. See, this is how it's detached, separated, and ready to explode. And after exploding, it releases 32 kilojoules of 32 kilojoules. That is internally for, I say it's a chemical terminology. Internally, it will explode. By that, we get energy. See, if we see previous slide, it's about this is a dotted line. It's a straight line. This dotted line is about to, this outer phosphate is about to burst, like explode. See, it get explode and releases 32 kilojoules of energy. That's how we able to walk, we able to run, we able to sit, we able to do all the stuff. Like even we are recording video as well. That is nothing but this kind of explosion. So this is of ATP to ADP. Now we'll be talking ADP next further slide. So when and these are the three pathways for three metabolic pathways. Like we'll be discussing about anaerobic and aerobic, how it starts. Like if you see in the left side, power output. Initially, at starting state, it has high energy. The slowly, if you go like duration, it's getting lower and lower. And in duration, if you see in the duration scenario, it's getting high. Like see, for example, I'm sitting here. I want to get up and I want to move. I want to grab a bottle. So initially, I need my energy is too high. I'll get up and move. That's okay. Now I want to move for a 50 meters. For that, it relies on my glycolysis. Like now, Sham is getting from chair and is that's actually less than 10 seconds, right? Now Sham is getting up and moving to grab the bottle. Okay. Now Sham is walking towards 15 minutes to grab the food. So for that, it relies on glycolysis. Like it relies on glycogen, because more than 10 seconds it has been crossed to reach my destiny, like 50 meters. Now Sham wants to run for a couple of 100 meters. So then next it actually switched from anaerobic to aerobic. So while Sham is moving towards the grab bottle, he was on anaerobic. When Sham is moving towards the food, sorry, okay, food, like he wants to go for 100 meters for a run. His respiration system switched to like internally, like he needs more energy. He cannot rely on glycolysis. So he'll be depending upon oxygen. So this how the duration will be high here. Now, if you see energy system, ATP, phosphocreatine, PCR. So this is the three as we learn, these are the three metabolic pathways, right? We are discussing about ATP, phosphocreatine, PCR. See what is phosphocreatine, PCR? Creatine phosphate is actually stored in muscle. So, creatine phosphate is actually stored inside the skeletal muscle. This is the skeletal muscle. This is skeleton, right? This is skeleton. This is skeletal muscle. Front, if you see the front portion and posterior and anterior posterior. Okay, so this creatine phosphate is stored within the skeletal muscle, right? Now, how does the phosphocreatine actually process to get phosphocreatine? See, phosphocreatine is a store of high energy phosphate molecules. It's a high energy of phosphate molecules which is stored inside the skeletal muscle. This enzyme called creatine kinase helps liberate the phosphate from PCR that can get attached to ADP to form ATP again. We have a high energy phosphate molecules within the skeletal muscle. So what actually happens, we have ADP. We need to make ADP to ATP. We need another phosphate. So that phosphate, that high energy molecule of phosphate, which gives from our skeletal muscle, in order to complete ATP from ADP to ATP. So these are okay. So do you understand, right? So we have high energy of phosphocreatine within our skeletal muscle, entire body. So once we done with ATP, once we have a ADP, then we need one phosphate molecule. That phosphate molecule will be getting from skeletal muscle in order to compensate ATP. Now the process has been started. Now depending upon the activity, as we learn here, depending upon the activity, what type of activity you're going with. It's a chain process. Again, the phosphate go split and burst. Again, we need the phosphate again. So that phosphate will be rely on comes from skeletal muscle. So I say it's activity based on the activity intensity level. It depends. If you are going for an aerobic, it doesn't depends upon your creatine phosphate. It relies on your fatty acids. Okay, now we'll be discussing about the second phase, anaerobic glycolysis. Okay, so we all know glycogen. Glycogen is a storage of carbohydrates, which is stored in liver and muscle as well. So muscle as well, right? So what is pyruvate? Pyruvate. See, okay. What is pyruvate? It breaks down the glucose derived from glycogen to a simpler structure called pyruvate. So whatever we see when we are on anaerobic glycolysis, it depends. This pyruvate depends on derives from glucose. Like how it breaks down the glucose derived from glycogen to a simpler structure. Glycogen, next level glucose, will be getting glucose from glycogen that converts to a simpler structure called pyruvate. That pyruvate is nothing but a phosphate molecule. Actually it yields to energy. Huh? The last step produces ATP molecule. That simpler structure of pyruvate, simpler structure of glycogen is called as pyruvate, and the last stage of pyruvate is nothing but ATP to yield down energy. So this actually this pyruvate comes at the stage of more than 10 seconds, more than 10 seconds to 2 to 3 minutes. See, in order to become, see, after getting explored this 32 kilojoule, and when it comes to kilojoule, it's chemical terminology, it's kilojoule. It is not kilocalories. Kilocalories is something different from externally. It's like pounds. 1 kilo equals to 2.2 pounds. Like pounds is different from kilograms, right? So internally 32 kilojoules, it's related to chemical terminology. So now we are going with anaerobic oxidation energy, oxygen energy. So what is, okay, okay, we are no, we are not dealing with uh, aerobic. We are going with anaerobic. So these are the anaerobic, because in if you see, previously I was argued with a couple of our group mates, like the sprinting doesn't comes under anaerobic, it comes under aerobic. But after going through the chapter of energy system, I came to know that sprinting is also comes under anaerobic. See, lifting weights, like we need burst of energy, right? Initially, so for that it requires more energy. That energy comes from pyruvate. Here, this pyruvate, because pyruvate is a process of getting a smaller structure of glucose from glycogen in order to compensate ATP, from ADP to ATP. So this is what anaerobic relies on. The activity is predominant system for short. More than 10, less than 10 seconds, it relies on ATP, and more than 10 seconds, 10 seconds to 2 to 3 minutes, and moderate intense activities like weight training, cricketer running towards the boundaries to catch the ball, and football playing and sprinting. As you see, this guy is sprinting, and if you see this ladies lifting the barbell. So these kind of activities require pyruvate. Okay, right? Do you understand? Okay. Next slide we deals with the aerobic glycolysis. So as you see, we are dealing with aerobic oxygen, the third phase, aerobic. So we are done with ATP. We're done with ATP. The phosphate creatine comes from skeletal muscle. We are done with anaerobic glycolysis. It comes from a small structure of glucose from glycogen to compensate triphosphate. See, these are the activities. And now we are going with next stage of aerobic glycolysis. So what is this? So what is aerobic? Aerobic is nothing but taking more oxygen. It's like dominating the anaerobic pyruvate. So see, if you see, these are the sources of energy for aerobic glycolysis. When you intake of oxygen while you are doing any sorts of activities, you will get energy from muscle like liver glycogen, blood glucose, adipose tissues, intramuscular fat. Muscle, we all know muscle, we have a skeletal muscle. These are the muscle. We'll be getting from energy from that. Liver glycogen, liver, blood glucose, whatever we eat that converts to glucose. In that also we'll be getting ATP molecules, energy. Adipose tissue, adipose tissue, the fat which is covered under the skin, will be getting energy from that. Intramuscular fat. See, intramuscular, I don't know whether this white thing comes under intramuscular, but we'll be having little bit of fat within the layers of muscle. So that comes under intramuscular fat. So this is the process. the leftover pyruvate from anaerobic glycolysis gets converted into lactic acid. See, what he means is, now this guy is doing sprints, right? Now after sprinting, he wants to run like a marathon guy. See, the next stage. See, sprinting is different. I came to know after the energy system. See, these are the people going for a marathon race. So everyone oxygen ATP re- depends on oxygen, right? Oxygen. So everything depends upon the oxygen. So before that, this guy stops sprinting and starts running. So whatever left pyruvate within in his body, that get converted into lactic acid. That get converted into lactic acid. See, this sprinting guy is want to stop sprinting and starts running like a marathon guy. So he has left with some pyruvate acid. What is pyruvate acid? Pyruvate acid is nothing but a small structure of glucose. In order to compensate, make it energy ATP. So whatever left pyruvate acid, and that will be cleared out lactic acid. So the leftover pyruvate from anaerobic glycolysis gets converted into lactic acid. Okay. So with oxygen, leftover pyruvate and fatty acids gets converted into actyl CoA, which then enter Krebs cycle and gets broken down till it produces two ATP molecules. So after this pyruvate and fatty acids which gets converted into actyl AOC, then that actyl AOCs enters into Krebs cycle. Then that Krebs cycle converts to two ATP molecules. So these are broken down into two ATP molecules. This is the process. And if you see in the above process generate hydrogen ions and CO2 in this process. It generates two process, hydrogen ion and CO2, where hydrogen ion again enters for the process known as ETC, electron transport chain, to provide more ATP molecules. And what about CO2? Where CO2 is carried out via blood to lungs to breathed out. So, oh, do you understand, right? So, I'm understood. So, I'm just telling you. Okay, now we'll see what are the activities for aerobic: marathon, cycling, swimming. These are the three activities which required heavy breathing oxygen. Okay, so whatever left initially, whatever he has pyruvic acid, a small structure of glucose that will be flushed out, cleared out through airways, and the lactic acid, the phytic, whatever it generates within the body, will be eventually cleared out, and it depends upon these things: muscle, liver glycogen, blood glucose, adipose tissue, intramuscular fat. So we are done with aerobic exercise. And now we are dealing with the last, energy efficiency. What is energy efficiency? From carbs we'll get energy. Like the carbs, whatever carbs we eat, that stores in our glucose and glycogen. That glycogen we can see at the anaerobic. If you see in these stages, it really relies on carbs, because carbs, whatever we eat, it stores in liver and muscle as a glycogen storage. So anaerobic mainly depends upon the glycogen. Anaerobic mainly depends upon the glycogen, carbs. Now, what is fat? Fat is the next big macronutrient than fats. So fats, it's mainly depend upon the oxygen. In order, it's not comes under anaerobic. It comes under aerobic, because as we see, Red here, fatty acids. Pyruvate is a small structure of glucose, and fatty acids also gets converted into actyl, which then enters Krebs cycle and gets broken down into two. Similarly, the fats is nothing but fatty acids. It's actually depends upon the oxygen in order to burn, in order to break the energy bonds to get ATP. And protein. Whatever we eat protein, it literally ingested in our muscle and fat. So we'll be getting energy from fats and muscle as well. We'll be getting small portion of energy, not as carbs and fats. And we're also getting energy from alcohol as well. The liver releases energy, not like carbs and fats, but up to some extent, little extent. So this is what the energy system is all about. So I hope you like this video. Thank you.